And you might be pleasantly surprised, actually, by what I'm going to say, because I'm happy that the presenter said that this is not a new idea, because it's not a new idea. It's also not a socialist or a left-wing idea. People from across the political spectrum have argued for UBI throughout the centuries. In fact, Thomas Paine argued for something similar. Milton Friedman argued for a negative income tax.
Proposal to help poor people by giving them money, which is what they need, rather than as now, by requiring them to come before a governmental official.
And free market think tanks such as the Adam Smith Institute and the Institute of Economic Affairs have all done lots of work on UBI. There was also an experiment in Finland that was set up by a centre-right government. They did it for 2 years, and they did it with a random sample size of people who were unemployed. There wasn't really much difference in the experiment, but one of the criticisms of that experiment was it would be better if they did it to people who were already in work to see the effects that would have. So some of the main arguments for this were poverty alleviation, avoiding poverty traps, and some people on the far left like to talk about technological change, which I don't necessarily subscribe to. But we need to look at this in really the broader sense of welfare itself, in terms of how we're going to solve the poverty trap. That's often where the centre right comes from. The idea that when you're on welfare, sometimes it can cost you to get into work. And the coalition government tried to solve this with the introduction of universal credit. And some argue now that actually maybe we should go further and have a universal basic income. I'm on the fence on that argument, because you are effectively giving a lot of power to the state. And when you're giving money to people, you need to remember what money itself is. It is a commodity. And so long as the government has the power to print money, that it can just go to the Bank of England and print it, that is a recipe for disaster. So if this was funded through taxation only, then I would probably be more sympathetic to it. But so long as the government has power to raise deficits and print money, it will potentially become a political football that at every election, both parties will be talking about what they're going to do to universal basic income, and the road to hell is paved with the best of intentions. So my verdict on universal basic income is, let's do some experiments. Happy to do that. I want to see what happens in certain case studies, in certain economic groups, but I think we should be very hesitant before we rush ahead with it on a national scale. Thank you, Chair.